What's going on, guys? Steve from the Masters here, and today I'm going to show you how to make a new fender to replace the rusted out ones on the rear of your truck. Okay, so this replacement is going to be really cool for you guys and for anybody who's doing DIY on a budget because it doesn't involve welding. Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to be happy about that. Obviously, you can do the whole like pop rivet bondo and a couple other things out there. You can glue on some bushwhacker fenders, whatever. But if you're already going to spend the money for some bushwhackers, that's going to go all the way around and all you had to do is do the rear, this repair is for you. So anyway, here's how we're going to do it. Yes, this is the typical patch panel that you'd have to weld in place where your wheel well would rust away. So basically what we're going to do with this is we're going to cut a nice even arc all the way over, and that's going to be our new fender, almost like a fender flare, but not for the truck. So how we're going to do this is really simple. So what I did is I got a Sharpie and I marked it for how far out from the fender lip I wanted that flare to be. So basically what I did is I took another marker, and by teeing it off here from the felt tip, I just go right around like that, keeping this at a 90 degree from the edge, and I'd make my mark. As you can kind of see, I did somewhat of a pencil mark, somewhat of a pencil mark there, so that I'd kind of get a rough idea where my arc's going to be. So anyway, I'm going to do my little squeegee mark here, show you what it looks like. Okay, as you can see here, I got my line marked all the way over. As you can see, this isn't rocket science. And as you can see, I got a nice, perfect arc that goes all the way over. Eventually, one thing you will have to do, let's see, that's the front, this is the rear. So the rear side, when I do the other side, I ended up chopping off a little bit from here, which I'll measure off the other fender, which I think it was right here. So about line right there. Just because this edge actually hangs over where the bottom part of the truck then contours down for that last little bit. But we'll get to that when we get there. So anyway, now time to cut it. So right here is the Turretless metal shear by Eastwood. As you can tell, I'm a big Eastwood guy. And well, why shouldn't I be? This thing's 50 bucks. It's electric. And the cool thing is, because it's such a small jaw, you can really move it around and get really nice cuts. The problem with the pneumatic cutters is then you need a huge air compressor to run them, which A, not in the budget. 2, those typically don't steer too well, although this is probably manageable. The trouble with the electric ones is way out of budget, and again, you're going to run into that steerability. So this was the best of both worlds. Like I said, I think it was around 50 bucks, maybe like 57 or something. Anyway, I'm going to take them and I'm going to cut this piece. Something to keep in mind if you use any kind of shears is depending on which direction you cut, the metal is either going to be forced down or up. And because this is the side that we want to keep the nicest, that's the side that you want to stay, regular. This is the side, doesn't matter if it gets forced up or down. So just keep that in mind when you cut. So anyway, I'm going to cut this bad boy. I'll get back to you. All right, so we're back. Cut. Literally took me like a minute. That's how awesome that tool is. Another +1 for the tool. So the big thing to keep in mind when you're cutting this is try to go as straight and flat line as best you can, because if you go all over the place, it becomes a nightmare to kind of get straight. Well, not exactly a nightmare, just takes a little more work. So like, give you an idea, see there's like a slight little dip right there where I kind of got off track. That just means that area I'm really going to have to take my angle grinder and a lap wheel and really sand it. So anyway, this is the main piece. So the next thing we're going to do is hold this up against the actual fender on the truck and get a sense of where I want this to mate up to the surface. And that will allow us to then figure out drilling holes for what will be, ding ding ding, aircraft brass rivets. All right, so I'm out here looking at the truck, and as I said, we're going to take the fender and hold it up just so I kind of have an idea. So I already ground that little bump out of there. As you can see, it's kind of gone. But roughly, that's kind of what I'm going to do, just to get an idea of how far up am I safe
for paint and also for cutting away. As you can see how that kind of hangs down past that molding shape there, and that's why I have that silver line there, which all I did to figure out exactly the right measurement for that, I just went like this and held it up against that, and I got my correct mark. But so the complication here is this piece obviously has been rusted and it hung down, and so it's not allowing to hold this panel up really nice. I'm also going to show you the inside here. See how it's just rusted away? This is the second metal piece that you just get dirt in and eventually rust out like that. So what I'm about to do here is get a rough idea of how far up I can cut, how far down I can cut, and then I'm going to take my angle grinder and cut all this bad crap out. And then I'm going to go on the inside, because it's two pieces. So you'll cut this and you feel like, oh, it should pop out now, but it won't. So you're going to have to go inside, and you're going to have to start cutting back. So lighting. So like I'll start here with the angle grinder, go right over here, and cut it all the way back. And obviously, like I said, I'm not putting that back. I mean, probably should, because it does keep the crap from going up there. But what I'm thinking eventually is I'll get a piece of plastic like this, maybe like Kydex, and just do one whole, one all the way around, and just never look back at, metal again as a mud flap or anything. So anyway, I'm gonna go cut this away, show you what it looks like when it's done, so you have an idea what you need to do when you do this yourself. All right, so I'm giving you guys a quick look-see while I'm cutting this. So using an angle grinder and a cutoff wheel, I've done the outside cut. And now you can see this is this inside fender, and that's the culprit right there. You get crap, see that dirt? You just get it in there and it's rust the hell out. And then look at this. That is all dirt. Who knows how long. You mix that with rust, and a little salt and water, and this happens. So yeah, that's why we're doing this. All right, I'm gonna get back, cut that crap out, and you'll see it when it's done. So here we are, it's all cut away. Even in the inside, it's all cut back. So the big thing to keep in mind when doing the inside is you want to cut it back as far as you can without damaging the bed, because you want a lot of room in here, because you're going to have to put your hand in here with a bucking bar, which I'll explain how that works when we come to riveting. But you want a lot of room for it. Also, if you've got a flap wheel, which I have right there, focus, awesome. And take that, and you're just going to clean up the edge, because it's going to be sharp. It's going to have some gnarly edges and all that. In the case of here, I knew how far back the metal was, and I had some weird rust from scrape alongside the truck, so I just kind of hit that. But anyway, that's where that's going to remain. The next thing we're going to move on to is prepping this panel. So that includes drilling the holes for the rivets and undercoating the other side. And then once that's done, we'll be back over here. Okay, so we're on to our next step. So we have to mark the line all the way around so that we know exactly how far the rivets have to be out. So basically what I did is holding a tape measure and holding the a Sharpie up against the edge at 3/4 of an inch. I just dragged it all the way around and got my arc. I had a silver marker when I did this, which would have been much easier to see, but you can kind of see that faint magic marker line goes all the way around. Now, to make things even more caveman simple, in order to set the spacing, I actually use, this is a bucking bar. So this is what you'll need to do the rivets if you have this rivet kit. If you don't, the bucking bar is about 1 1/16 inch wide. And pretty much when you put it there and you take your marker and put it along the side like this, you're about 1 1/8 inch. So think of 1 1/8 inch spacing. So essentially what I'll do is, starting in the corners, I'll just place it there, mark, move it to the next mark, mark, move it to the next mark, mark, and do that all the way around till I have all the marks made. And then what I'll do is I'll go back, and on each mark I'll take the punch and hit it with a hammer so it gives a slight indentation. The little indentation will give a place for your drill bit to sit, so you don't stray all over and muck up your panel too much. It also ensures all the spacing and all that. So I'm gonna do that. I'll bring you back. Okay, so I went just a little bit farther. So after I used the punch and dimpled all the holes where I was gonna drill, I then got a 3/16 drill bit and went around and drilled each hole. Now we're looking at the back side, and that's because I've also sprayed this with undercoat. So again, the reason we're doing this is because your fender rusted out, your truck's probably rusting in a million different places, and we want to stop it in its tracks. We want to stop it even before it even touches the metal. So what we need to do is, since that is just, you know, like a primer sealer type of paint on there, it will eventually rust once it breaks down, and you want to cover it up. So we undercoat. So that's just some ordinary, you know, no name brand undercoat. So just give it a good general spraying, nice good coating, and it's ready to go. So essentially this fender is ready to go on the truck. So the next step is we're going to hold it up to the truck, use our mark it where it needs to be, drill some holes, hold it up there with the clecos so we get our right fitment, and then drill all the rest of the holes. So that's next. Okay, so I'm out here with the fender, and I held it up to the truck and did like what I said previous. So basically what I did is I held it up, put a clamp here and a clamp here, and then I pretty much just moved around a little bit until I get an equal reveal on this side and this side, which is about like an inch, a little over like an inch, inch and an eighth. So once I got it lined up, then I drilled my first set of holes, which is where you see these things. These are called clecos, and basically what they do is they stab through the hole thinner, okay, and they go in thin, and they come back and they expand, and they actually hold two pieces of metal together. They're called clecos, but they're used for aircraft construction. So anyway, I put a whole bunch of clecos, hold it in there, and then I went and I drilled all the holes that I'll need for this project. So as it sits now, I could start putting some rivets into this thing and be done with it. But what I want to do is I want to mark as far out as the edge of the metal will go, remove this, and then I want to undercoat everything that's behind this fender. That way there is no rust that's going to be in on that you know, metal on the other side that we cut, and there's also going to be no rust forming where I drilled the holes. Remember, rust prevention. So anyway, I'm going to do that, and when I bring you back, we're going to start riveting. All right, guys, here we are. Today is the big day. Time to put this bad boy on there. So here's what you're going to need. So as I said, I'm doing this with the aircraft rivet stuff. So this is what the rivet gun looks like. It's got a little dimple there. It fits the rivet. Sounds like that. Here's your brass rivets. Basically, the one end, round end, fits in the end there. And then by using the gun and that, you beat it up against the block and it mushrooms the back side. And bingo, riveted on. So fairly straightforward. So basically what you want to do is start your rivets near the clecos because they're actually holding the metal tight against the truck. Other places where it's kind of bowed out, you don't want to start there because it's just not, you know, it's not held close enough. Keep a drill around with a 3/16 bit. Sometimes they don't line up, or the hole you drilled isn't big enough. You don't have to just do a little boring. So that's just a good thing to have around. Another thing too, hearing protection. I mean, you're using this up against a tin can, it gets loud. So one thing to keep in mind, using a 15-gallon air compressor seems to do the trick. You probably could go a little bit smaller, but not by much. That seems to do the trick. And essentially what you do is set your PSI on the air compressor. So I have it set at like a little under, probably about 55. The directions say that between 45 and 50, but I like to go just a little bit faster. And it takes about 15 seconds, 15 to 30 seconds of you know, hammering on it to get it to mushroom, depending on how hard you're able to hold the back with the bucking bar. If you're loose with the bucking bar, it takes longer. If you're really stiff with it, it goes pretty quick. Anyway, I'm gonna get started. All right, guys, here we are. I got the fender all riveted up in place. Yeah, looks pretty cool. Like I said, guys, this is a cheaper alternative to welding because with a welder, you're minimum $1,000 just to get the tools. Whereas with this, an air compressor and the rivet kit, you're still about $500, you know, and that's with the rivet kit being $250 and the air compressor being about the same price. That's half the cost. Granted,
Could you just let it rust out or just cut it out and make it look crappy? Yeah, but that's not a repair. And we don't do that on the Minimasters. We like cool stuff. We like awesome stuff. And this is a cool, awesome repair. I mean, look at that. You get your style back. You get your flair, right? I mean, it's just really, really cool. It's a talking point. People are coming like, yo, dude, that's cool. Never seen that done. And that's a big thing. Nobody, it's still like, you know, out there. People aren't quite doing it. So I'd say it's a trend. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think. Do you love it? Do you hate it? That side's going to get painted over the rivets. Tell me if you'd rather have it painted over the rivets or not. I like it being painted over. That's why I went with that on that side. But anyway, that's all for me, guys. This is Stevie from the Minimasters. Thanks for watching.